Hey everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Fortnite Story. I'm joined alongside a caster, analyst, content creator, and one of my good friends, Life with Panda. Thank you for joining us, Panda. What's going on, man?
Hey man, it's good to be here. I'm super excited to be on the podcast. I've kind of got to talk with you as it was kind of coming into fruition, so excited to be a part of the journey here.
Oh yeah, we got the squad. So, here's how we start this off. If you haven't listened to one yet, also this is the inaugural episode with video, so shout out to you guys who are watching on YouTube. Shout out to everyone listening on all the podcast platforms, but it's also on YouTube now. We're gonna try and do this regularly. Anyway, back to you, Panda. We have to talk about where your name comes from. Why Panda, and why are we a life with a panda?
Yeah, so it's kind of an interesting story. I knew that I needed to change my end game name at the time. I had worked in branding and marketing and stuff with many different companies, and I was like, "Real Batman 247 is just not going to work anymore." So I got a PlayStation 4, and it was time to switch it up. And I go online. I'm super pumped. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna do life with MK. It was kind of like a. The thought was it's like a vlogger name almost. And then it was my initials, MK. And so I was super excited about it. Get online. I click the first Sony website I see in Google. I go to sign up for the account. Come to find out, it was the UK version of Sony's website. So I sign up as Life with MK on the UK version of Sony, right? So I'm like, well, frick. And it wouldn't let me log into the PlayStation. So I'm like, okay, now I got to go back and try to make it on the US version. So I go back on, make it on the US version, doesn't work. It's like this name's already taken. And I'm like, well, if I have to make a whole nother account, how is this name taken? But whatever. So I call Sony, right? I'm on the phone with them for 3 hours, and they basically tell me there's nothing they can do. You can't change because at the time you couldn't change names on PlayStation and Sony. You couldn't like literally they wouldn't let you do anything, right? They would even transfer just the region of the account from UK to US, right?
Wow,
So
very helpful.
yeah, I mean Sony has gotten better. I wouldn't say they're the best, but they've gotten better for sure over the years. So I was like, well, I really like the life with concept, and what do I want to do with this now? So I was like, okay, you know what? I love pandas. I've always loved black and white. Like the color scheme has always been cool for me. So I knew from a marketing standpoint and branding standpoint that the black and white colors would always be super dope to me if I ever decided to do anything with it, which years later I did, as you could tell. But and then I love pandas. I loved watching them roll around. Like my wife and I would watch YouTube videos of pandas in the zoo, just do like the cutest stuff. So I was like, you know what? I'll settle for it. It was almost Tiger, by the way. It was almost Life with Tiger, but Panda is way better.
And if you guys are watching, make sure to look at the background and look at the content he's been putting out, 'cause he's got a sick sign right behind him. You can kind of see it. His head's in the way, but you could definitely see it in some more of his content changes too. Um,
Hmm.
so, Panda, I'm gonna ask you questions. This is actually one of the harder podcasts because I know you so well, so it's like hard to ask questions and be genuinely curious. But I
Yeah.
do want to know like how you all got started in the space, like not just as a caster, analyst, content creator. Like, first, what got you interested in Fortnite, and why did you even want to begin here?
Well, so as a kid, I was obsessed with Halo, right? And I was obsessed with gaming. I played a lot of Kingdom Hearts. I liked a lot of story-based games. But Halo 2 was always the game that kind of stood out for me. I fell in love with it, the online aspect, playing with friends, being able to play against other people I don't know. Like all of that was super enjoyable to me. Um, and I gamed throughout my entire life, but then I kind of took a break when I really started focusing on my career, which my career was in hospitality. For those at home that wouldn't know, I worked for Disney, Marriott, and a ton of other companies along the way. And so I kind of took a backseat to gaming until Fortnite came out. And my buddy was like, "Yo, you have to get on Fortnite. Like this game is it. Make sure to go get a console, do whatever you gotta do, and make sure to play Fortnite with me." So I was like, "Fine, whatever." That's when I went out and bought the PlayStation, tried to make the name, and uh, did all that craziness, and it just didn't work out in my favor. But I started playing Fortnite, and I instantly got hooked. It was like most people that played during that time, right? You when you get into that chapter one early season feel. Like there's nothing like it, right? Like impulsing your friend off the hill, you friendly fire. I mean, just everything about those early days was super special. So I got the opportunity to do to play the game, fell in love with it, and it was something. It was the first time like I had fell in love with a game since Halo 2. And again, like I was saying, like Halo 2 had such a special place for me. So when I found that same passion for a game, I really got hooked, right? Hooked to the point where the job I had at the time, I was actually I won't say where I was working, but I was a general manager at a hotel, and I would schedule my day around going home to play Fortnite with my
Respect.
friends. Like that's how I scheduled myself because I was so obsessed with Fortnite in the early days. And so that's how I kind of fell in love with Fortnite. And then I went to World Cup. I just continued to follow what Fortnite was doing competitively, non-competitively. And then COVID hits. Right, we're in 2020 now, and it was the April FNCS season, April, March, April, May, somewhere right in there in 2020. And I had kind of streamed a few times beforehand. And I had done it originally so my wife could watch from Florida when I moved up to New Jersey. That's a whole nother story. But and I would just give away stuff. Like I'd give away computers, like crazy stuff, and then I'd dip because I was making so much money at the time. I had no clue what to do with it. And so I did that for a little bit, and then COVID hits. And my buddy's like, "We should do an FNCS viewing party from your stream." And I was like, yeah, you know what? Why not? Right. So we're all drinking, having a good time. I load up the stream, and I'm like, you know what, chat? 10 subs, I'll come back streaming full time. I'll give away some stuff, and then I'll probably disappear again. But if I get 30 subs, I'll give away a PC. I hit 30 subs within like 40 minutes.
Okay.
So it took no time whatsoever. And so it's like at that point, something felt different about that time around, especially because I was able to balance it way easier with my job working from home on top of streaming. So that was really cool. And then I kind of one thing led to another. I started talking to the community might know him as Brave Edits, Nikki Movement, however you know him. I started talking to him. He had commissions open, and he took me on as a client. Um, and then one thing led to another. He connected me with Monster D Face. Then one thing led to another from there. I got on the podcast with him, the Fortnite podcast. If you don't already know, SBG, myself, Monster, always breaking it down. And then Monster was kind of like, have you ever thought about casting? And sure enough, I was like, yes. Public speaking has always been a thing that I've been passionate about. It's been my career in hospitality and real estate, and taking that to a different medium was super cool in concept and theory to me. So as soon as he asked that, I was like, yeah, I would definitely be interested in casting. Like, what do you recommend? Like, how do I do this? How do I learn? And he was super genuine, helped me every step of the way, gave me advice on everything I did, and got me my first show with Nerd Street Gamers. And
Hell yeah.
so I ironically partnered with Jacob PR for my first show.
Okay.
So it's funny that we kind of full circle moment. We came back on the NA West broadcast last FNCS, but um, it was it was a really cool experience how it happened, and it was kind of like a movie. I cannot describe it like you had to be a part of that space and watching me transform into it to truly understand. But like even my friends back in the day where they would hear my voice and they'd be like, you should do something with that. I'm like, yeah, maybe one day.
Now, I have to ask you a question because Monster says you have two voices, right? You have the one
Hmm.
you're talking to me right now, and then can we hear the other one?
So I have several voices to
Oh,
be clear,
okay.
right?
Fire
I'm
away
actually
then.
I'm working on being a voice actor. I'm not even gonna lie. So that's kind of something else that's working on I'm working on behind the scenes. But I have my standard voice, and then I have the radio voice, like a little bit different. You tune in with SBG here for the Fortnite story. Like just a little bit different. It's not too different, right?
Okay.
But Monster hates that voice.
Yeah.
Let's be clear here. If he listens to this podcast and he hears that, he's going to message me immediately. So But no, I have several different voices. That one specifically, I used to cast in the beginning, and that's why Monster didn't like it. I used it for the podcast in the beginning, and then to cast in the beginning, and he's like, "Stop it right now."
Talk to me like a
Ugh,
damn person.
that's exactly what it was.
Yeah, I remember him telling me that story, and like just hearing it from both you guys is so funny. Glad we still get to hang out regularly and do the Fortnite podcast. Um,
Um,
that's cool, man. That's an interesting. So it went from working as a general manager at a hotel to then scheduling your day around Fortnite
mhm.
to then connecting with Brave and Monster, and then he's like, "Yo, you might be good at this. Here, try this thing." And like, if any of you guys know how Monster D-Face acts, he's always like very generous and always wanting to give back to the community. Like, I owe some shouts out to Monster too for helping me out along the way. But it's just really cool to see that you put in then the work, because he's not gonna just give you something, right? If you know
Yeah.
Monster, it's earned. It's not necessarily just like, here's something on a platter and I'm gonna let you do whatever you want with it. He saw something in you. Maybe it was the voice, maybe it was the radio voice, and was like, all right, this guy is gonna do something. And so since then, do you have any idea how many events you've casted?
Ooh, that's a question. I gotta be closing in on like 100 events easily. I think. Oh man, it's definitely got to be close to 100, if not just over 100 events now. Because like in October alone, between FNCS and I literally did like a show almost every single day last October. So between like the 20 shows I did that month and all the other shows I've kind of accumulated around that, definitely close to, if not just over 100.
Damn, that's kind of crazy. How do you feel? Like, I hate this question, but
Hmm.
from event number one to, I think I just did the last event that you worked with you last Friday.
You did?
Um, like, what is the difference in you and then how you see the position that you're in?
I kind of had a realization moment when we did the Phase Elite Cup that my casting,
I
my
couldn't do
casting,
during it because Connor told me not to, but phase up.
yeah, it literally phase up. So it was a realization for me that my casting wasn't what it was before, and you and I kind of talked about this behind the scenes, but when I took on the analyst role with FNCS, I really took a backseat to casting. I didn't accept as many third party events. I really wanted to focus on being the best analyst I could be, especially considering when I took that role, I had never done that before. So I really focused on analyst. But then what I found out is when I went back to casting, I wasn't casting as well as I used to, right? So now I'm using, like, obviously I'm trying to get as many third party events as possible, not doing FNCS this season. I'm using my short form content to practice casting, which has been honestly super helpful, especially when I really focus in on what I'm saying. Like sometimes I'll do multiple takes. I try to keep it to one take so the reactions are as genuine as possible, but sometimes it takes multiple takes. But it also helps me at the same time be a better caster because I can work off of like getting the best reaction for a moment. So full circle, I'm definitely better than I was show one, but I've kind of regressed a little bit, and definitely going to be working back to where I felt like I was my strongest.
I feel you on that. I think for me, it was easier to be an analyst than it was to be a caster,
Mm.
because for me, like, that is what I do. I make videos analyzing Fortnite. Like, that has been mostly my career within this space. So I always not struggled, but it was more difficult for me to become natural and fluid as a caster. Whereas you kind of have that voice already and you can like fluctuate and go different ways, as we saw just a second ago. But yeah, it's interesting to hear that now the analyst has not hurt you, obviously, because it gave you a different perspective, but changed the
Yeah.
way you look at things. And now you mentioned something. You're not on the FNCS broadcast. I'm sorry. I'm right there with you. Um, but, talk to me about what you're doing outside of that. Like, what is the game plan now that you're not going to Denmark?
Yeah, so if the community doesn't know, if you're listening in and you don't know, NA West as a region has been removed from the broadcast coming up this FNCS season. With that being done, my immediate first response was, how do I fill this void? Right? I had already kind of built a really solid connection with the NA West community. I didn't want to just leave them hanging with everything going on. So I started kind of talking with Epic a little bit behind the scenes and working on what we're now calling the NA West Watch Party. This is a super special event for NA West where we're going to be every day that there's a broadcast for EU and NA East. There will also be an NA West watch party immediately after NA East, and this is going to include a ton of cool stuff. So we're going to have rotating casters and analysts. We're going to have player interviews. We're going to have special community prediction videos. There's going to be a lot of content that's very similar to the broadcast, but also some new elements that hasn't really been done by anybody before. So I'm kind of pushing to get the community involved as much as possible. So it's gonna be pretty cool. I'm excited to get the community's response, see how they like it, and honestly see how we can continue to improve because this is very new. And honestly, SBG knows it has consumed my entire life for the last couple weeks. Like literally every morning, it's 3 TikToks, and then I'm on meetings, getting things ready, prepping, talking to pros, like doing a ton of stuff in preparation for the NA West watch party.
Yeah, I respect the grind. Like you said, I've heard how it is, and like I'm here to support in any way I can. Obviously, I'm choosing to go a different route, which hopefully I can share soon. Probably by the time this is out, we could share it, so it doesn't really matter. But yeah. Anyway, I respect you putting that together. It's important for West to continue to be elevated because even though they're not, I don't even want to say not official because they are official. They're just in different
Mhm.
languages. For Brazil, Japan does South America, and then an Asia broadcast. Now there's 3 regions that aren't getting broadcasted. That's Middle East, that's OCE, and that's NA West. All the
Yeah.
other 4 are getting broadcasted in some form, whether it be from the studio or done differently by the teams for Brazil and the Japanese team, which is really interesting. So basically, more than half is getting broadcasted, cutting one back, but still going to receive, from my understanding and everything you've told me, a ton of attention, ton of effort, and I'm really interested and can't wait to see how it works out. Hopefully, I could pop in, a couple times, say what's up.
Of
But
course.
I'm happy that you're taking that on, and I hope it goes well for you.
Thanks, man. I really appreciate it. No, it's definitely an undertaking for sure. But like I've literally been in talks with everybody in the community, like pros, creators. Like I'll leak it here, right? There's one creator. I don't know if you've heard of him. His name is Sods. He's kind of like this um comedic poster on Twitter, and he creates these like kind of meme videos about whatever's going on in Fortnite. uh, I got him involved, and he may or may not be working on some stuff for the NA West watch party. So it'll be fun. Again, as much community involvement as I can get, we're gonna make happen. I'm even potentially convincing Faxity to come on and cast. If you don't know,
Okay.
he's been wanting to cast NA West for a long time. So yeah, hopefully, fingers crossed, we'll be able to make that happen. Just depends on how he performs, because I don't know if you saw this morning, but he's playing with Saf.
I did see that. That is interesting to say the least, right? Because I don't want it to be a half-ass Saf. I want it to be like this is one of the greatest players of all time coming back after a short break, but I'm one concerned he's choosing to play on West. He might be out there. I don't know where Saf lives. He
He's in New York, to be honest.
okay.
But
So he's playing on 80 ping. So like how seriously is he taking this? Which, I don't want him to be ruined, right? If we talk about like Michael Jordan with the Wizards. Like
yeah,
no one really talks about that. yet it doesn't hurt his legacy. But there's other players that have like a second stint in other sports and then it does hurt their legacy. So I don't want that to ruin what, in my opinion, is like easily one of the top 10 players of all time in Fortnite in SAF.
Yeah.
Nonetheless, hopefully they either do really well, qualify week 1, so then you got, qual 2, qual 3 and semis to get Faxity on there, maybe even bring his duo mate on board. That'd be really cool. Or they don't do so well and he's not playing the broadcasted round, so he comes on either way.
Yeah, I have faith that they're going to do well. So one thing I like to think about when people come from east to west is it's been done before, and it's been done in a way that gets the people qualified to the finals. Like last season, it was Prism and Backety, who they played from NA East on NA West, and they qualified to the finals of FNCS. So it's possible. It's not going to be easy by any stretch of the means, but if somebody's going to be able to do it, it's going to be a legend like Saf. Like that's just me. That's my take. And I'm actually, between you and me, I'm kind of excited. I tweeted this out yesterday. I was like, I've noticed a lot of NA East pros are looking to go NA West, right? But imagine the ecosystem if that happens, right? Let's say you get a major creator pro, like a Clicks, for example, goes west for a season to try and win it all, right? Imagine the viewership shift, because from a broadcast standpoint, a lot of people tune in to watch their favorite pro or their favorite creator pro compete. So you take away that from a region and put it in another region that's no longer broadcasted, like that takes eyes away from the region that is broadcasted. So it'll be interesting to see how that shift happens. But this season is going to be interesting. We had a pretty quick turnaround from one FNCS to another, which I think is going to lead to lower player counts across the board, which we've seen
Definitely.
increasingly lower player counts. But I'm hoping that it's not dramatically different.
That's an interesting point you bring up, because I could definitely see that happening for some of like the pros signed to T1 orgs, because like NRG, 100 Thieves, TSM, like they all
Mm.
have facilities out there. I think even Liquid has a facility out like in LA area. I don't know exactly where they're at, but they're out west. And
Yeah.
it could be very conceivable to have, for content purposes, one of those players move out there, film everything, do almost like a stories of the battle by type beat, where you're watching this player compete, train, what they do in their free time, all this stuff, making content on the side with the org, and then you put all this together. Like, that seems like a great idea to me. The only issue is you're taking away half the potential prize pool from an NA East player. And, it depends, right? It depends on who the player is, what the org is prioritizing, what the player is prioritizing. So there is opportunity, and I could see it work out, but it's kind of like an all in to get one of those guys out there. And I think right now, I would love to hear your thoughts, because you're more in tune with West than I am. But right
Mhm.
now, it seems like West has had a shift where it used to just be pure domination by Arc, Epic, and Rex. And
Yeah.
then Reet was in there for a little bit. Snacky and Favs have kind of pushed up. And now it's kind of Snacky and Favs region. But I almost feel like right now it's open game for the first time in a long time.
Yeah, it definitely is. So I'll break it down, right? It's Arkham Epic Whale Rex until season 8, where it was Reet, Snacky, and Favs end up taking the win, right? Then Grand Royale comes around. Reet leaves Snacky and Favs to go with Ark and Epic Whale. They win Grand Royale. Then season 1, chapter 3, Snacky Favs. Season 2, Snacky Favs. Now we're going into season 3, right? But there's been a pretty big shift in teams. It's always been Arkham Epic Whale. They've been together for so long, right? Now Arkham hasn't touched the game much at all this season, and it is the Epic Whale Reach show, and it's been interesting. They've played multiple regions, placed top 10 in multiple regions. Like, they're playing very, very well. And that leads me to believe that this could be a season where they take it. Now, another team you kind of have to look out for, or another couple teams from NA West that could potentially dethrone the Snacky Favs Epic Whale storyline that's existed in West for so long. Midi Moose Batman Booga, and his duo. I can't think of his duo's name off the top of my head right now, but these teams are teams that we definitely have to pay close attention to. So far in the season leading up to FNCS, all have performed exceptionally and have a really solid chance at being that top team leading into FNCS.
Okay, so you're kind of along the same lines as me. It is up for grabs right now. It's not
Mm-hmm.
necessarily a single duo or in the past trio that's just gonna dominate everything. That's cool. I'm always I like the parody. I like the competition, and that's I think why it's been not frustrating, I guess, but like not as interesting to me last year watching NA West. This past
Yeah.
year was pretty cool. You know, it was like when you're watching the Cavs and the Warriors go to 5 straight NBA finals. It's like, come on, man. Like I don't who cares who wins at this point? Like they've all
Yeah.
been here. There's no like celebration, but now it is that, you know, someone new gets to get there. So that's interesting to hear, and I'm looking forward to seeing who does well. Um, I
Me
have
too.
I have to ask now. You
Mm-hmm.
have discussed you're going the content grind, right? And this is something that was hinted on the Fortnite podcast for months, but has now come out in full force.
Yeah.
I would love to I'd love to hear, you know, what exactly the plan is and what you're doing, and you know, maybe shout yourself out where people can find you.
Yeah, well, listen, I appreciate that. It's been right now. I'm in the early stages. I brought somebody on to Team Panda. His name is Sammy. Incredible dude. Um, and he has been like a workhorse behind the scenes, helping me with the TikToks, and also he's going to be helping me with YouTube videos and thumbnails and stuff moving forward. So he's extremely talented, but has never really worked with somebody. So this is going to be kind of like his first stint of like really growing. So what I'm doing right now is I've started off with 3 TikToks a day. I do not settle. Every day 3 TikToks. First thing in the morning, I wake up, coffee, shower, change into the studio. Lights are on, and we pick a color for the day, right? And so that color for the day is in the morning is the same color as when it's published later in the day. It is always the same. So I don't usually record ahead of time. I always record on the day of. It keeps the clips fresher, and I always look for clips that are like the night before, even the morning of, to keep the content at a certain quality level. And then moving forward, we're obviously doing a lot of stuff with the NA West Watch Party, but past the NA West Watch Party, I plan on doing a series similar to Stories from the Battle Bus, where I really sit down and do a deep dive into a pro's life, um, talk with them, interview them, but also really get a breakdown and a sense of who they are. And I'm potentially, I've talked to you a little bit about this, but I'm potentially going to take some time in the following months, like September, October, and fly over to California and sit down with some of these West pros that are already in the area. So lots of stuff coming, lots of great content. I'm going full force into content. You already know. So it's going to be really cool. So for those that want to find me, TikTok.com/at LifeWPanda, Twitter, LifeWPanda, YouTube and Twitch, Life with Panda, the full thing, Life with Panda. So make sure to check me out, follow me there. And yeah, the content is coming, man. The content is coming.
I love it. I love it. You've been on the grind, and I respect it. Like it's not. I have been urged to do more TikToks because of seeing you and your efforts you're putting into all that. So, one, it's awesome to watch, but
Thank
two,
you.
thank you for like inspiring me to do that. I'm not 3 a day. I'm barely at 1 a day, if that. So, you know, we get 3, 4 a week maybe.
Yeah, it's funny because I have some friends who they were posting TikToks pretty regularly, and then they kind of slowed down, and then I started doing it, and they were immediately back on the grind, all of them, and it was so funny, because I even see them changing the way that they did it, right? So before they would just like post a clip, it was funny clip, they put some subtitles on it, whatever the case may be, but now they do the intros, right? So they intro into the videos, so it's like and they're posting more than they ever did in the past. It's kind of nice to see. I'm always big on supporting my friends in any walks of life. As long as you're a friend of mine, I'm taking care of you and helping you out any way I can. But now, honestly, this last few weeks since we kind of came to the conclusion that we weren't coming back, it has been nothing but content posting and studying the best ways to deliver content. Like I've literally digested hours of content on how to build short form stuff and how to post it, what's the best times to post it, how to analyze when the best times to post things are, like how quickly you should get your hook to hit, what percentages you need to be at the end of a 3 second mark in a video to know that it's going to do well, like everything. So I've invested a lot of time, but I've always been the type of person that when I commit to something, I commit 150%. Like there's no chill about it. So it's like I said before, it's me wake up first thing in the morning, three shower change, TikToks, meetings, content, other content, whether it's doing voiceover content for other channels or scripting or I've it's just been nonstop. So
Non-stop grind. Okay. Hey, keep it up, man. It's getting, obviously you've seen the recognition already just from doing it for what, like a week and a half, maybe 2 weeks.
yeah, just past the 2 week mark.
Okay. So,
And the growth is actually crazy. I think so on YouTube, I've put up over 100,000 views. On TikTok, I'm at like 90K views in 2 weeks, and follower count on TikTok went from like 150 to I think I'm almost at 700 right now. And then YouTube has been like 300 to almost 600. So
oh yeah.
close to double on YouTube and like almost quadruple now on TikTok. So it's really interesting. Now Instagram, I'm gonna be honest. I posted the Instagram as well. I think I've gone up like 10, 15 followers, but I've never been one to use Instagram. I'll be honest. So I'm trying some different stuff today. I'll let you know how those
Okay.
videos go. But yeah,
I'm sure we'll talk about that at some point.
of
Now
course.
I'm interested. You said you've been studying this stuff, and I've somewhat talked to you about it, but not even really. Like, you want to share some of the insights that you've received? I mean, obviously, don't tell us entirely how the sausage is made,
Yeah.
but you know, give me.
So I got you. I got you. So TikTok specifically, I've noticed this specifically with gaming. The more hashtags you post that is related to the game, the better. And on Instagram, it's the opposite. You post one hashtag that's related to the game, right? Obviously, in every niche, it's a little bit different, but you have to find the hashtags that help flow your content the best. YouTube Shorts, same thing. YouTube has always algorithmically rewarded consistency. So if you're going the YouTube route, YouTube Shorts, YouTube videos, whatever the case may be, as long as you're consistent, the algorithm will take care of you. Unless you're like Mr. Beast and you just post whenever and still get hundreds of millions of views. But now the kind of getting into the meat and potatoes of a video, right? So the way that you structure your videos is you have two time frames you want to aim for. Unless you're just going for a crazy long video, then you do you, and good luck. But you want to keep it under 10 seconds or between 20 and 30 seconds. The first 3 seconds need to be the hook that keeps someone engaged and interested in, and whatever the like full concept of your video is from that point on needs to be enticing and interesting, and you need to maintain 57% retention from the first 3 seconds. So you get 3 seconds into a TikTok and you have 57% watching past that or more, then your TikTok has the that growth pattern that could lead to virality that everybody looks for on TikTok, right? If it falls below that 57%, analyze why and you keep going. And so I've noticed it very very, very well. Every TikTok that's on my page that is less than a 1,000 views, which isn't a lot of them, fortunately, all of them didn't have retention past that 3 second mark. And everyone that has exceeded that has had better than 57%. So it's really it's interesting. There's all those little nuances of these platforms that you have to hit, but when you hit them, man, are they rewarding.
Yeah, it feels good when you just see those numbers starting to skyrocket. Like that's the hardest thing that I've had to distance myself from is trying not to allow my mood to be altered by numbers on a screen, because like at the end of the day that is kind of, the career that we have, and it is important to get views, it's important to have people engaging in your content, but you can't let it either like just juice you up because you had one video that did well, because
Mhm.
ultimately it's going to come back down. Like it's the same with streaming. You may have your best stream ever, but eventually, you're going to have less viewers than that. And you have to keep it in perspective, because if you let that change your mood, especially when it goes the opposite way, right? Like if a video does terribly, then you're not going to be as motivated to make the next one. And I've ran into that several times myself where, especially on YouTube, I spend hours, days working on a video and it just shits the bed. And I'm like, bro, I spent so much time. And then I've talked to you about this. I'll put
Mhm.
out a video that takes me 30 minutes to make. Literally one film sesh, press record, screw around in creative, or like show how a weapon works, 60,000 views. I'm like, what is. Ugh.
Yeah, Fortnite is an interesting category on YouTube for sure. Um, I've noticed, and this is one thing, like, there's obviously a breakdown of YouTube videos, and you and I, like you mentioned, we've talked more in depth about it behind the scenes. It's kind of the philosophy that Mr. Beast stands by, and a lot of these other creators are starting to adapt. Even if you watch like Courage JD, his Reacts channel, and Cypher PK, his Reacts channel. They've both started to exceed like 500K to a million views, which is not something that was happening before for these gaming creators, at least not consistently. And the reason that they're finding so much success in these React videos is because of the quick cuts, like intro fast, hint at something amazing at the end of the video, like these very like very specific things that you do at certain times in a video that psychologically get someone to stay in the video from start to finish. And that's what YouTube is. The more someone watches it, the more someone values the content in it, or you keep them hooked and engaged till the end, the more it gets pushed off to the next person. And like you mentioned, sometimes you can put in a ton of effort into a video, but if it doesn't meet that criteria, it doesn't kind of connect or keep a person engaged, it's not going to hit those numbers. And also thumbnails and titles, like if they're not like perfect, which drives me nuts. If they're not perfect, people won't click on it. So it's just a list of things that kind of happen with YouTube. Whereas that's the nice thing about TikTok and even YouTube Shorts and stuff, right? You kind of just post it. You put a quick title. There's no thumbnail. There's no like excessive thought, like, and you just go, and the views just kind of appear.
Yeah, it is like a much different game. Um, so I'm interested to just personally, we were on the broadcast, you longer than I, and that was kind of something we did for a while. But now that it doesn't necessarily look like that is happening anywhere in the near future, um, I want to know like what your goals are for even just this year, because like I personally have been struggling to figure out like what the heck am I trying to do? What am I trying to accomplish? And for the longest time it was getting on the broadcast, and now I am personally lost. So as an interested person and like a friend, I'm just wondering, what are you trying to do?
Well, I mean, you knew since the beginning of this year that content was going to be a main focus for me in the year. And it took me so long to launch it. And then when I finally got everything in place, the studio was done, I still didn't just immediately go into it. As much as I brought the camera to Denmark, I had plans to do things. I let FNCS consume me. But now with that extra free time, it's kind of I've been telling my wife this and a few other people that it's been a blessing in disguise that I'm not on the broadcast this season. While obviously it's great to be on the broadcast, it's great to hang out with your friends and stuff and be able to put on a show like that, it also creates this level of motivation in me, at least, that I haven't seen since before I was on the broadcast. Because realistically, just like you mentioned a moment ago, when you're a caster, when you're in this role, your goal is to get to the broadcast. Once you get there, it's like, what now? Right? So that's kind of that moment that I'm sure you and I both had, right? We got to the broadcast and now we're like, well, we're here. Like, is that going to change? And in our minds, right? If you look from all the seasons they've done, casters don't just disappear off the broadcast, so you get comfortable, and that complacency of being comfortable in those situations led me not to start creating content. So that's why I've said that, and I've looked at it in a positive way and said that this is a blessing in disguise, because it really has kicked me in gear to focus solely on content. And now some of the content that I'm going to be able to create and some of the stuff that I'm doing, um, I'm already seeing great success in it, and I think that's just going to continue to be the case as we push on and elevate the content that I'm working on.
Happy to hear that. It's got to be tough to do. I know we both went through it, but just to like look at things in a positive. But knowing you for the longest time, you're always someone that looks at things positively. And like the best way to describe my first few interactions with you, and like now, we've been friends for a while. I thought you were so nice that it had to be fake. Like straight up, I just didn't think that you could be that nice. And then like you just kept being that nice. I'm like, oh, he just is one of the nicest people I'm gonna meet. And
Thank you.
it's funny because I talk to other people and they sound and say the same thing. So, that positivity, that spirit, and just being a genuinely good dude, it'll help you out, especially in this space. But also can sometimes be a problem because people will take advantage of it. So, I'm
Yeah.
not trying. I don't know why I said that last part.
No,
Just
but it's true, and I'll tell you this, right? I've had those experiences here in this scene, and even when in my work life, because I am who you see on the internet is me. Like, it's not a facade. Nothing changes when I go to SPG's house for a barbecue, or I'm on stream, or I'm on broadcast. Like, it genuinely is me. And it's funny because like people have always come to me about like my Twitter, for example. I'm super positive on Twitter no matter what the situation is. Even if like the meta in Fortnite is not great, I'm still positive about it. Like, there could be things that are improved. I give like criticisms and stuff, but it's always positive in a positive way. And I've gotten DMs that are literally like, "Bro, we get it. You're an epic employee. Stop sucking their like." It's so ridiculous. But no, that's just who I am. I learned a long time ago that being an asshole doesn't get you anywhere in life.
you can't say that.
Oh,
I'm just kidding.
just
Go ahead. Sorry.
um and I was fortunate to learn that lesson early and not carry it for long, because there are people that they get the things that they want to get and do the things they want to do by being an asshole, but it plateaus at some point. And I've noticed that me being genuine, uh, concerned about everybody, like, that's, I guess, my biggest piece of advice and biggest piece of who I am, is there's not a single person that you can put in front of me, outside of people that maybe have ruined that relationship in the past for abusing it, whatever the case may be. But it's very few people, to be honest. Um, but no matter who you put in front of me, I'm gonna treat them the same, right? Like, for SBG, I'll do whatever he needs me to do. I'm his friend, right? I'm gonna be there, like, through thick and thin. If I don't know you, like, and you need something, and I see it, and I'm in a position where I can help you, I will. I mean, a perfect example of this, and I won't mention the name, and I won't mention too many details, but there was somebody that was struggling in the community. I didn't follow them. They didn't follow me. I just happened to see it because somebody on Twitter liked their post that I follow. And I gave them enough money and stuff to put their power back on, get their internet back going, and they can continue streaming and doing what they love to do. So it was like, that's who I am. That'll never change. Um, and that's what translates into, as SVG mentioned, the nice guy that he's met. SPG has only seen me genuinely upset once. Like, and to be fair, I was very upset that day.
Yeah,
But but
deservedly
no.
so.
Yeah, but it's I'm a pretty calm, collected person always.
Yeah, I would say so. In the time that I've known you, that's very accurate. So I want to talk outside. Like, say we step out of this chair, you leave your studio. Like, what is life with Panda? Like, what else do you like to do? What do you enjoy spending time doing or pursuing outside of simply content and gaming?
I'm gonna be honest with you. Recently, it hasn't been much of anything, right? I do like to spend time with the people I'm closest with. Like I like to go to an occasional movie with friends. I mean, you know that. But outside of that, I don't really do much. And you can tell that if you follow me on Twitter, because if you look at my likes, you look at my posts, you look at anything that is interaction based from my Twitter, you'll see that there's not an hour in the day that I don't spend at least 10 minutes on Twitter from the moment I wake up to the moment I go to sleep. So, cuz I am consumed by wanting to be the best version of Life with Panda that I can. So, does that take away from other things? Yeah. But it fortunately hasn't ruined any relationships in my life yet, knock on wood. Um, and I do know to prioritize us time with my wife. That's the biggest thing. So
Super
it's
important.
literally life with Panda, prioritize time with my wife, and that's basically all I do in a day.
Hey, it's important, man, especially like in our space because it can be all consuming and it also can take as much or as little time as you're willing to give to it. So if
Mhm.
you don't create separate time outside of like this space for your wife or even, friends, people you love, you'll miss out on that. And, you only live for so long. So happy to hear that you prioritize that time. I mean, I know you've hung out with me a few times recently, so it's not like it's only online, even though we do hop and call a good bit. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, that's
Um,
interesting.
and it's funny that you mentioned like how hard it is to prioritize for us. Like people at home might not realize this, but like our wives work 9 to 5s, right? So when they get off at 5, they're home by like 5:30, 6 o'clock, and at that point you have to prioritize spending time obviously with your other half. It's very very important to not neglect them. But when you're in gaming, most especially like tournaments and things like that, most of that stuff happens after 6 p.m. Like it's not often that that stuff is happening earlier in the day. So work-life balance is not necessarily the easiest thing in gaming. However, I mean, you've said it, I've said it myself. Like we have the best job on the planet, and I wouldn't trade
Oh
it for the
yeah,
world.
yeah. It is important though because we have so much flexibility with our time because we can do whatever we want besides like tournaments or specific events throughout most of the day or even at night. But like our significant others, they are, slotted into this time, that time, and that time. And a lot of people don't understand that sometimes because I have a weird schedule, right? I play video games in the morning, I make videos in the morning or afternoon, and then I work on other stuff typically afternoon. Like I'll grab lunch, work out, do that, and then come back, finish up whatever I was doing for the day, and try and be done by 6. My goal is always to try and finish by 6, so that way when Lexi comes home, I can be like, oh, cool. All right, we're hanging out. Boom, we can have dinner together every night for the most part. Now, FNCS is coming up, tournament grind's coming up, so that's
Yep.
gonna change. And those conversations suck sometimes. It's like, oh, Lexi, I am going to be late for your uncle's birthday party because I have to do an event. Like that's not a fun conversation, but I think having that dialogue is really important because
Yeah.
sometimes you're gonna have to have let's say not fun conversations. or at least I have. I don't know. I don't want to speak for you, but I know
Um,
that it gets difficult sometimes, and you have to communicate that, because if the wife is not happy, we don't get to do this, because they're gonna
yeah.
be like, "Yo, get your butt and go work a job. I'm tired of you freaking playing video games all day."
uh, Fortunately, we have, like I said before, we have one of the better jobs in the space that allow, like, we don't necessarily have to stream 8 hours a day and do this, do that to be making a very livable wage. So that part is super nice. But fortunately, Emily, early in our relationship, we set this rule that no matter what it is, we'll be extremely supportive, 110%. Um, and for her early on, it was photography. For me now, it's this. And and even for, like, one of the biggest steps and things that we did in our relationship is when we moved from Florida to New Jersey. That was not an easy decision to make. Uproot yourself from your family, your friends, and all for a job. And that's what had happened is I took a job in New Jersey, and fortunately, she's been super supportive every step of the way. I haven't really had too many of those conversations where it's like, "Hey, I have to do this." She's more along the lines of, "Oh, okay, like that works." There's only been, again, a very select few times where it's like something that we agreed on, that we had set in place, and then, SVG and esports, like, things can pop up the day before, the day of, like, hey, this caster can't do this. Can you hop in? Like, we kind of have to be ready and available at all times. As much as sometimes that takes away from things, we do. But fortunately, Emily's been super supportive. Shout out to my beautiful and wonderful wife.
Oh, that's so cute. You're right though. We do have to, like, we live in the now, and it's very hard to plan things in the future, because like even with FNCS, like that wasn't settled in months in advance. Like it was
Mm.
weeks in advance that, that was locked in, and then okay, cool. Now I know what I'm doing for the next X amount of time that FNCS is gonna last. Um, can I tell you a story about when I ruined that trust my wife gave me to play video games?
All right, tell me.
All right, so it was right after, I think it was Red Dead 2 came out, and that was before like I even started in this space.
Mhm.
Not started, but like was actually making relevant amounts of money for me to be like, no, 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 I have to do this. I was just
Yeah.
writing a little bit, making $100, couple $100 a month, and that was it. Um, so Red Dead 2 came out. I was still working full time, and I would get home, immediately jump on my PlayStation, play Red Dead 2 until I went to bed. And that was probably, I think it came out on a Thursday, so I did that Thursday, Friday, Saturday I played all day. Sunday I played most of the day, and then Monday when I got home from work, she was ready. She was like, "It ain't no freaking way you're doing this again. You've done and played this game for like 4 days straight. I'm tired of this. Like, let's do something." And that was the first time where I realized, like, oh crap, I can't just play video games all the time, and forget that I have a. She was my girlfriend at the time, but like that was when it really hit. But that was even before I got into having this as a career, and as much as that sucked, and I probably shouldn't have let it get to that point where she exploded on me, it helps now because we set ground rules then, and
Yeah.
we learned from it and developed a better relationship now, knowing that, like, okay, I know you want to do this, but sometimes just take an hour or two break, hang out with me a little bit, and then you could go back, play video games when I go to sleep. So yeah, that was the worst of it that it's gotten. I mean, granted, there's been some other ones, like when I had to tell her I'm gonna be late for her uncle's birthday party, but we got over
That
that
was
one.
out of our control. Let's
Yeah.
It was out of our control. But if you can't tell by context clues, that was a recent event. But no, I think I ran into a very similar thing when I started to see success in 2020. I wanted to start streaming all the time, right? Like I would literally work, fortunately work from home, but I was working like 8 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. I would change and jump on stream from 6 p.m. to like 9 p.m. or 10 p.m. sometimes, and then it was sleep, repeat. And at first I was doing that every day, and I quickly realized that's not sustainable, right?
Yeah.
Like not by any stretch of the means. So I ended up dedicating Sunday. Sunday was always the day. Like phone is away. Um, everything was all about Emily. That was all about Emily Day, and so that's kind of what really helped make creating life with Panda possible.
Smart. Smart. And for all you guys listening at home, if you're kids, take this advice now. I know you probably won't, because I wouldn't have when I was a kid. I would have been like, shut up, you old man. Like, this is it's not important. But if you want to keep a significant other and not have them hate you or hate video games because of what it does to you and takes away from you, have these conversations, set boundaries, and discuss things, because it's really important. Like, both of us are older now, and I would imagine probably the majority of the people that listen to this are on the older side. So, helpful advice learned from our screw ups. So, hopefully, you
True.
don't make them. Because I've definitely seen the opposite, whereas, like, someone becomes consumed by a game, the significant other hates that game because of said significant other neglecting them because of playing it, and then it just spirals out of control. So, you gotta balance. Balance is key.
Balance is key for sure. I can only imagine what Emily was thinking when Fortnite first came out, because literally I was the same thing as your Red Dead 2, man. I would literally again schedule my day around getting home by like 5 and just playing. Fortunately though, at the time she worked nights, so it made it a
Yeah.
little bit easier. But the days that she was off, I had to be a little bit more cautious.
All right. We're at about an hour, by the way. So I'm going to try and wrap this up because I don't want to keep you. I know you said you had some stuff going on. I'm sure we'll chat
Of
outside of
course.
this, and you'll be back on. That's a no doubter. Um, anyway, is there anything else like you want to share? Like anything you're working on? Anything that you would just like to mention uh, while we have you here? And then I have two questions in closing.
All right. Nothing. Just make sure if you're listening, tune into the NA West watch party. It's going to happen at twitch.tv/life with Panda. Every broadcast day following NA East conclusion. It's going to be live right before or right as NA East finishes. Maybe some people will get hosted over, and then we're going to go into it. So it's going to be cool. We got people like Clay, Lash, Ben K, and more tuning in. So definitely, if you're a viewer and you want a good place to watch some Fortnite, like twitch.tv/life with Panda is going to be the spot to do it.
Hell yeah. All right. I'll definitely throw that in the description too. So if you're not fast in understanding what he just said, there's a clickable link down below. So check that out. It's you can find the schedule. Fortnite competitive just tweeted the schedule on July 6th. So just look at that and then add 5 minutes after, or I guess 3 hours after NA East starts is probably when NA West starts.
Yeah, like 9 p.m. Eastern.
Boom. There you go. 9 p.m. Eastern time, 6 p.m. Pacific time, or yeah,
Yep.
Pacific time. All right, cool. So, two questions. Wrap up. I ask everybody this. First one: what is 278 times 3 divided by 4? No, I'm just kidding. That's a terrible question. We're
I
not
was
doing
like,
that.
I'm gonna be wrong.
I couldn't repeat those numbers if I wanted to. No, the actual question is: what is your favorite Fortnite skin?
Ooh, the focus skin. So before Reet really took ownership of that skin, it was mine. You can ask my friend group. You can ask anybody else. I didn't take that thing off for months. So yeah, that would be my favorite skin for sure.
All right, cool, cool. Reet, you heard him. It's panda skin. Get that out. Nah, there's no
Yeah,
way.
get it right, Reet.
I'm sorry. You're
Uh,
not taking that back from him at this point.
no.
Um, let's see. Number two. You
Mhm.
kind of already mentioned this, but one more time. Where can everyone find you, and what's coming up?
Well, yeah, we talked about the NOS Watch Party and TikTok or and Twitch. Make sure to definitely follow me on TikTok, YouTube. Those places are huge. So Life W Panda on TikTok, Twitter, and Instagram, and YouTube and Twitch. It's Life with Panda, and a lot of content coming to YouTube soon. Like I mentioned before, I kind of gave you a sneak peek of what's to come in the off season of FNCS, especially leading up to the Invitational. So yeah, good stuff coming.
Hell yeah. I love it. Love it. Well, thank you, Panda, for joining me. I appreciate it. As always, you're the best. Thank you.
No, you're the best.
Oh. Now, you people watching at home, if you're watching, listening, you are also the best. Thank you so much for hanging out. If you sat here for an hour and listened to us, I really appreciate that. This has been another episode of the Fortnite story. Life with Panda joining me. You couldn't ask for a better episode. If you guys have any complaints, somebody's gun on Twitter, shoot me a DM. If you have nice things to say, I'll take those too. But, we'll see where it goes. Or if you want to join, I'm open to seeing who wants to join. Thank you so much. Thank you, Panda. And we will see you guys or listen to us next time. Thank you for watching. See ya.